During the break, one of the things that I just learned is that some of you are not getting the electronic notification by email or even getting some of the telephone calls on the automatic ring down. And that's a real problem, and we need to fix that. How many people here are affected by that?
Not getting it?
Not getting it.
I just started getting the electronic phone calls this past week, but you didn't have me on some sheet to get either emails or anything during the year.
Okay,
or phone
but you are at
calls.
least getting the phone calls.
Right now I am.
Okay, for those of you who aren't getting any phone calls, could you please see me afterwards and we'll get your name and we'll try to make sure that that happens. We'll get it to Commander Bilger's office and we'll get you back on the list so you will get them. Because that's a pretty bad deal. Dave?
Quick point while you're right on that subject, if I may, is I get them all now. I get the cell phone, the home, and the email, so they catch me wherever I'm at. But what's happening is most people in our age group have, because of the number of people who are trying to scam old people, I guess, everybody has caller ID protection. So if they don't punch in a number that they're calling from before they send the message out, nobody's answering, or some aren't answering, or it won't go through because they have protection on our end.
Yeah.
You gotta have caller ID activated beforehand.
Yeah.
And I think they caught it this last message where they went to send the whole thing over again.
Yeah, I had one of those non-available numbers on my cell phone last week on that missing boat. And it was kind of interesting because I got the cell phone voicemail, but then I found a missed call. And the next day, I called up the missed call to see who the heck called because it said number unavailable. But I was just kind of curious and I recognized it as a Coast Guard number in Seattle, at least from the area code and the first 3 digits. So I called that number and it's the Public Affairs Office who does send those things out. And when I said, I got this strange call, unavailable number from you guys, any idea why you called me? Well, it was because of this missing boat. And I said, yeah, but I did get that thing. I don't know why I got a missed call. Well, we don't know either, but we did send that out. So my response was, out of curiosity, did you send that to the active duty, to the auxiliary side, or anybody other than the C.A.N. member? And the fellow said, no, our office just deals with C.A.N. So that was interesting. But what I did at that point then, I had already kind of maybe gotten a suspicion about this. So I sent it to one of our auxiliary people who does do a broadcast of all the auxiliaries. And I basically said, if you didn't get this because you're not C.A.N., that means that our auxiliaries who might go out on patrol and be on the water also didn't get it. So if you didn't get it, please send it out to everybody. And then I got my copy back from her as being one of the everybody's. She obviously hadn't gotten it, so she distributed it to the auxiliary. But you know, that's a situation that's real world. Because the program is new and there's no funding, you know, we have these things where they just don't come together. You had a comment?
Did they find the boat?
All I heard was, we believe it was resolved. So I honestly don't know.
We don't know.
And that was from Public Affairs, that was not anybody in the operational side. What we're going to do now is, I wanted to just kind of briefly hit the Canadian counterpart. We've talked a little bit about it, and so I'll just make this pretty short. In your handouts, you've got, or at least on the table if you did or didn't get one, I just called it the draft briefing paper for the C.A.N. network. I put this together just because I'm a freak about some of this stuff. 1.5 years ago when we had our last training in February of '08. And I was just new to the program and I thought, I don't know anything about it, so I had to learn everything I could. So I started looking on the search engines to see what I could find. And I got into the spot on the Seattle Coast Guard website where it shows the C.A.N. program and it shows the partner program, and there's a link to the Canadian side. And when I hit that button, it said you can't get there from here. So what I did was I at least copied down the name of the program, the Coastal or Airport/Coastal Watch, and did a search on it, and then it came up with what the Canadians hand out. And some of you have that little CAN booklet that was either in the hard copy or whatever. Let me just get this guidebook that was out for distribution. That has some good stuff in it, but you'll notice that there's a lot on the hazardous substances in our book. The Canadian side has a lot better material than what we have. So I was kind of intrigued by that, so I started listing it. What you see in this handout is some of the Canadian assistance that they provide. Then, as and some that I also added. And then this other handout I gave you on suspicious activity was something that I did another search and I started pulling things out. There's a heck of a lot more that I could put on here, but what I did was give it to you as a single sheet, so it was easier to handle, and just tried to put some quick and dirty stuff on there. But the Canadians have a lot of good materials that you can look at. So I thought I'd just kind of run some things just quickly by you and then maybe pique your curiosity and you can look. Here is an application for the Canadian C.A.N program that says Citizens Action Network that they put out, and a little description of what they do and how it differs from the existing Coastal Watch program. So they're using our same acronym up there. Then if you do some look, here was one, what is the Coastal Airport Watch program in Canada? And it says help protect Canada, be our eyes and ears. And they have lots of things in here: shipyard profile, container profile, banks, suspect pilots, vessels, aircraft. So there's a lot of interesting things that they're asking people to report on. They also have a little thing, what should you do? I found this on a website that just is about reporting. So we've got our own reporting thing. Let's see, here was one called Maritime Drug Smuggling and Rum Running that came off a Canadian website. But again, talking a little bit about citizen participation and putting eyes on the water. And then the final one that I thought was kind of interesting, there's actually a newsletter that I had. I think I showed you that. Did I give you that little newsletter that was
the
from
one on
the meeting? Okay. Gee, I forgot the name of it, but it had a catchy name.
Spotter Dude.
Spotter Dude, that was it, the Spotter Dude. And the Canadians have published that for their equivalent of the C.A.N program, Spotter Dude. So again, that's better than what I have as a C.A.N grant. This final thing I found kind of interesting. Here's a report by the Organization of American States. And as you know, that's North America, Central America, South America. And they had a conference down in Panama, and it was a group of experts on maritime narco-trafficking, and then best practices for effective controlled ports and maritime narco-trafficking. And what was really interesting under the detection side in this was Coastal Watch Programs Canada. And so they've got a write-up on the Canadian counterpart of our C.A.N program that has had exposure clear out through the Organization of American States, which I find kind of interesting. Our C.A.N program, as you saw from Lieutenant Commander Bilodeau's presentation, is just oriented right up in that northwest corner of the U.S. But here the Canadians are getting exposure all over the Americas. So to me, that's kind of interesting. I hope that the next time we have a meeting like this, we will have an RCMP representative. The fellow who manages that program over in Victoria was on vacation and just couldn't make it with us. But he said he wanted to get together and kind of swap some stories about the various programs and see how we can work a little more closely. So when he calls me the next time to say he's ready to do that, I'll get it up into the District 13 channel so we can start to pursue it at a little higher level to make that really work.